Top Chef is back. Welcome to Top Chef Carolinas.
Oh, yeah. Hoe cakes, collard greens.
Liver mush.
I'm not treating this like it's Burning Man. I'm not here to find myself. I'm just here to go up against the best of them.
Welcome to the Eat Your Content podcast. I'm your host, Rich Herrera. Thank you for tuning in. Just a quick reminder to follow me on socials at Rich Herrera and at Eat Your Content to keep up with all things going on with the podcast. It is that time of year again. I'm so excited. It is Top Chef season, and I am doing episodic recaps of Top Chef season 23 in the Carolinas. Well, I'm not going to be in the Carolinas, but they're going to be in the Carolinas. And co-hosting with me for the next 14, 15 weeks, Chef Corwin Hemming from season 22. Chef Corwin, thank you so much for being the co-host with me on Eat Your Content for this episodic recap of Top Chef for season 23. You're so generous with your time, and thank you so much for being on the pod.
Rich, thank you for having me. I remember last time we spoke, we joked about, the next time we were going to do something, and then, we made it happen. So we're back for another year.
That's right. We manifested this. We made it happen. So this episode, just a quick programming reminder, this episode is going to be a preview. And as usual, every year I've done fantasy drafts for Top Chefs. So it's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to pick our chefs from the contestants and develop our teams. And may the best player win. But I want to catch up with you, Chef Corwin. A lot has happened. You were on Top Chef. I felt like you were eliminated a little early than I would have liked over some salt cod fritters that you had to make a pivot on. It didn't quite do what you wanted it to do, but a lot has happened since then. So catch everybody up on what's been going on with you.
Yeah, man, life is taking a complete 180 for me and all great things. So first and foremost, I opened up 2 restaurants. I'm currently the chef de cuisine of a restaurant in Washington, D.C. Called Isla Restaurant. We cook island cuisine with a global focus. So we pull on, our roots and our heritage, and we try to maximize what we can out of Caribbean and West Indian products, but we also take a global focus. So we pull ingredients from islands around the world as well. And so it's been great. That's the second restaurant I opened. I opened up the Occidental for Star as well. And, most importantly, I have twins now. My wife and I found out we were pregnant right before the season dropped last year. And then shortly after, found out I was having twins. So the twins are here. They're about 4 months old. They are growing up. I have a boy and a girl. They're just getting fat and juicy, and they're sweet as pie. I am severely sleep deprived, but they are starting to sleep a little bit better, which is good for me. Obviously, closing a restaurant every night and then going home and doing overnight duties. Yeah, it's a lot, but I've nothing but blessed things since last year. Top Chef is still steamrolling for me. So I'm excited for season 23, mostly because I know a couple of the chef contestants. I've either worked with them before or crossed paths with them. So there's about 4 people on this season that I've either met in person or I have like a connection to through my network. So I'm actually excited for this draft.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, congrats on all the success. I was about to ask you, when do you sleep? It doesn't sound like you do.
I get about 2 hours of straight sleep, maybe, consistently every day, unbothered, no babies. So I make that work. I got to maximize that little window for sure.
You catch a couple of winks in the walk-in during service?
No, surprisingly, I just stay hydrated, man. I actually I'm a very high energy person, if you know me, and everybody says I'm wearing it well. It's not forever. And so I'm just trying to stay positive, trudge through it, focus on the restaurant, focus on the babies, focus on the restaurant, focus on the babies.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah.
It's great you're working at a restaurant where you can really play to your strengths on the Caribbean island cuisine that you really did a great job highlighting during your season.
Mhm.
So that's great. You were able to follow that, after this postseason and get into that. So that's amazing. That's amazing. So let's talk Top Chef season 23. So I'm really excited that it's in the Carolinas. I'm from the South. I have lived in Georgia, I lived in Tennessee, lived in Alabama. I currently live in Florida now, which a lot of people don't consider the South, but it is the South. But when I heard it was in the Carolinas, I got really excited because the places they're filming, Charlotte, Greenville, and Asheville, I'm familiar with those places. So I'm going to see some places that I've seen before. What are you looking forward to most? I'm sure you were a Top Chef fan before going on the show, so you've seen previous seasons, and you're going to watch this season, obviously, with me. But what are some of the things you're looking forward to for this upcoming season?
So I'm also from the South. I was born in Georgia. My parents, even though we were military based, we lived in Georgia 3 separate times. I was born in Augusta, We lived in Fort Stewart, which is on the coast, and then
Yeah.
I lived in right outside Stone Mountain as well. And so I've also lived in Florida. So all things the South, I love Southern cuisine. One of the first things I learned how to make was fried chicken, biscuits, barbecue. All the things that make Southern cuisine great. I'm really excited for. But I think ultimately, I think most the hardest challenge they're probably going to have is the barbecue, especially if they get specific with a certain type of barbecue. I would be willing to bet that barbecue takes a lot of people down, or everybody kind of has a rough day, just because it's technique driven. And the Carolinas, they've got their specific type of barbecue sauce. They've got their specific type of cooking techniques. Pulled pork is definitely like one of my favorite things, but it takes a long time, and Top Chef is unforgiving on time. That clock works against you the second it starts ticking. So I'm eager to see what they do with barbecue. That's what I'm most excited for.
Yeah, so I was going to ask if you were going on this season, right? If you were a contestant on this season, other than barbecue, because we know that's gonna play. It can't not play a part, especially if you're talking about both Carolinas. You're going to have the vinegar based North Carolina style, then you're going to have the Carolina like gold sauce style of barbecue. But other than that, what other foods should these chefs have been practicing prior to coming on? Because that's a big part of the show. Is the location itself is its own character, and they do a really Top Chef has done a really great job of highlighting local cuisine, highlighting local restaurants, indigenous foods to the area. So what foods would you be focusing on, practicing, really getting a handle on before the first episode drops?
Yeah, so that's a good question. I think when it comes to the Carolinas and Top Chef, how you approach your season specifically, this is something I talked about vividly last year, was
Mhm.
making sure you do your research, not only on Top Chef, but like on where you're going. For example, our season in Canada, maple syrup, like we knew that was coming right out the gate, poutine right out the gate. And so I think just being privy to like what is coming, if they did their research, they should have seen certain things coming ahead of it happening as a group, not even in an individual basis, as a group. And so outside of barbecue, I mean, you can look at things like greens and pot liquor. Obviously moonshine comes from the
Mm.
Carolinas. So I think there's going to be some cool stuff. And on the snippets we saw NASCAR is involved in some way, shape, or form. So there's just a lot of things that I think that are coming this way this season, that they stay true to the South, they stay true to the Carolinas. So I think if they researched and they were smart about what how to approach their style of cooking within the Carolinas, that's going to be the kicker of who does it successfully and goes to towards the ladder versus like getting knocked out earlier on.
Yeah, I'm really hoping for a meet and three type challenge
Mhm.
for sure. Moonshine, that's a really great one I didn't think about, but yeah, a moonshine challenge, maybe in a quick fire, incorporating moonshine in some kind of dish.
Yeah.
That would be fun.
There's a reason
Um,
why I say that, because on season 21, they had hops as an ingredient when they were in
yeah,
Wisconsin. And so like an ode to beer, obviously big beer country up there. And so that's why I'm saying moonshine might be something that might be a creative ingredient that they used. But yeah, there's so many combinations that you can go to in the Carolinas. But I think this is going to be a big education piece for everybody. That's going to be watching to see kind of what makes up the Carolinas past pulled pork, past moonshine, past all these little things. I think these chefs are gonna have to get in their bag and really cook some good food.
yeah. In the previews, they did show some NASCAR clips, and NASCAR has a moonshine running history, and so it's got to come into play there.
Yeah.
Also, as far as other ingredients, like the Gullah Geechee is very prominent in the Carolinas and the South, and Georgia and Alabama and parts of Florida. So hope to see some Gullah Geechee cuisine happening. I'm probably for sure going to see a lot of rice dishes.
Mhm.
I would love to see a
Carolina
low
bowl.
country boil challenge, that
Yep.
sort of thing.
Yeah, there's no ends to it, and this is good for the Carolinas. Obviously Charleston being a food destination in the Carolinas, and having the restaurants it has there. Chef Schwai is in Carolina.
Oh
He's
yeah.
he's doing his thing. So I think there's just a lot of good food centered around the Carolinas in general. But this is gonna like put the Carolinas on the map. And showing kind of what the South has been doing. The Michelin Guide has been coming into the United States, and a lot has been developing around the United States. And so I think we're going to get to see a lot of this content come out that really benefits them.
Yeah, I'm really gonna love seeing Southern food getting its day, getting its highlights and its spotlight. It is popular, and and being from the South, I love Southern food, so it's not it's always been popular with me. But outside of the southeastern United States, Southern food isn't as popular. I remember watching the All Star season, and Sarah Bradley made pot liquor, and the judges didn't know outside of, the Top Chef judges, the other judges that were in the international judges, like, what is, I don't understand pot liquor. Is there liquor involved in this cooking? They had to explain it to him. So one thing I think is going to be interesting is a lot of these chefs that aren't native to the South or don't cook a lot of Southern food, to see how they embrace those challenges. How do they put their spin on a traditional Southern meal? So it's going to be really, 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 really interesting to see how that comes about. Speaking of some of the contestants, we have some unique contestants. We have twin brothers
Oh,
that are going to be on the show. We have a husband and wife team that's going to
yeah,
be on the show. So that I don't think that's been done before. We've had twins, the Voltaggio brothers have been on before, but I
correct.
don't think we've ever had a husband and wife team in recent memory that I can think of off the top of my head.
Yeah.
What are some of the contestants that stand out to you in your early research that you're kind of keeping an eye on?
Yeah, so one of my good friends, Nana Araba, we cooked at Lake Cuckoo together years ago when we were young cooks, and that was a great opportunity for us to get to know each other. I've cooked with Chef Day in New York City as well. I know Chef Anthony, and then Seeger from Chicago is in a group of chefs that I know. His name was always popping up a lot. We've crossed paths once or twice here, but yeah, those are the chefs that I know personally. I'm very excited to see this twin combination, the married couple combination. That's to me a recipe for disaster, because at some point in time, it's like you're still standing on your own 2 feet, and one of you guys has got to go at some point. Like, it's a
Right.
non-negotiable. So me personally, I'm going to take the husband-wife combination as like a not a good thing, and I'm going to take the twins, even though I have twins and I'm forever a twin dad. That to me is just like not in competition. Like, you don't want your twins in competition. That's not a good thing. So I'm gonna let you know. I'm gonna try to stir around and navigate around that as possible when it comes to the draft. Maybe I may be dropping a gem, or you may try to pivot me into that, but I don't know, man. I don't see it being a great thing, just because at the end of the day, there's only one Top Chef winner. There's
Yeah.
only gonna be one person that takes the crown, and I'm willing to bet it's not a good thing to have your family there, because part of it is like when you're there, you're not with your family. You're locked in on Top Chef. And not being with your family can either make or break you. We saw Tristan lost his dad last year, and that
Mhm.
was like a really pivotal moment for him. But he rose to the occasion. He stayed locked in. It lit a fuel under him, and he was like, I have to win. And so having family there to me is like, is that a level of comfortability that could come back to hurt you? Like having a
Yeah.
sibling there, like you're in a competition, but you have the one thing that is probably the most comfortable of your life. Having a twin, only that person's going to know you your whole life.
Yeah.
That one person. Having a married spouse there, that person knows you better than anybody in life. Is that a crutch? Because I don't see it being a great thing. Me personally, I'm just going to throw that out there.
Yeah, the husband and wife team is going to be interesting because they already work together, right? But this is a different type of pressure. You have the pressure of the clock, you have the pressure of the cameras, you have the pressure of the judges, and that's just different from working on the line with them at your home restaurant. So the dynamics there is going to be the drama, the tension is going to, especially if they're still together on the same team at Restaurant Wars. That's
Mhm.
a whole different ball game there, and it'll be interesting to see how they either come together, or are we in the makings of maybe a separation? Who knows? I'd hate to see that, but who knows?
I would hate to
Uh,
see that.
but hopefully they can rise above. They can rise above.
Yes.
So let's get right into it. So let's talk the draft, and here's how it's going to work. So
Yep.
it's basically old school dodgeball pick'em.
Mhm.
So you, as my guest co-host, you are going to be the one picking first, and then I will go next. What I would like to see is who are you going to pick and why,
Mhm.
and kind of explain the thought process of picking these chefs, and we'll just kind of go down the list, and then once we get our teams all set up, we'll talk about the future and how this is going to look. So whenever you're ready, sir, who is your overall number one pick?
Okay, so I am gonna take actually Seeger Buyer first.
Seeger Buyer. Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna take Seeger first. There's a reason. I lived in Chicago for 3 years. I cooked at a couple of Michelin star restaurants while I was there, and Chicago is hands down my favorite city to eat in the entire United States. Uh, that's maybe controversial. I lived in New York City for a decade. It's just there's something about Chicago's cuisine to me that's special. Him being an executive chef, he has a lot of experience behind him, and I think that is going to be, if he represents Chicago well, he should take it far. Last year we had Cesar, who, Bailey went as far as possible, like the Chicago crew. Zubair had some early wins early on. Chicago chefs typically come out ready to swing. So I'm gonna take Seeger first.
Yeah, it's a good point about Chicago. They do put out some good chefs on the show. I remember Suan came in from Last Chance Kitchen and made it all the way through and got pretty far. So that's probably a good pick with Chicago. So Seeger Bayer, the first overall pick for Chef Corwin here. My number one pick, I'm picking a local guy, Oscar Diaz.
Okay.
I feel like he's a good number one pick. He's a two-time James Beard semifinalist for Best Chef Southeast. He understands Carolina cuisine, I think,
Mhm.
especially when we talked earlier about barbecue and seafood and produce. I think he is going to be an early standout,
Okay.
and I think he's going to be because he's local. And normally local folks do really well. Local folks usually do really well because they have kind of that home field advantage. And we have a couple of Carolinians in this group. So for my first pick, I'm picking Oscar Diaz out of
Okay.
Durham, North Carolina. All
Okay.
right. Who's your next pick?
My next pick, I gotta rock with my girl Nana. I gotta rock with her. We cooked together. We were in the trenches. We've trauma bonded. I need Nana to like really lean in and like, she's gonna. I already know she's gonna pull on her African roots and like really like lean into it. And I just gotta rock with Nana. That's my homegirl. I want to see her do well, and I was super excited when the Top Chef announcement came out, and I saw her face, and I literally was like, "Is that Nana?" Just went straight to my phone, text her, and was like, "I see you." We had
Girl.
a little chat, and I was like, "Welcome to the Top Chef Club. Like, this is awesome. I'm so proud of you. Like, you're part of the club. Like, this is awesome." And I want her to see her do nothing but good things. Win, lose, draw. It's Nana's one of the homies for sure.
Awesome. Awesome. For my number two pick, picking Jossie Bindra out of Houston, Texas.
Okay.
Kind of for me, an unconventional pick. He is the world's best Indian chef,
Okay.
according to the bio. He's from Houston, so he's got some southern exposure there. So it'll be interesting to see how he um, embraces the Carolina ingredients and making it his own with his identity as the world's best Indian chef. I'm mainly picking him because he's a chop champion. He has worked under a time pressure before, and I think that experience, especially in chopped, I
Mhm.
think that experience is going to do well for him in the quick fire challenges and in the elimination challenges when you're just that pressure of the clock is
Mhm.
just on you the whole time. So for my number two pick, I'm picking Jazzy. I hope
Okay.
I'm pronouncing that right.
That's solid.
Your next pick, sir.
Number three, I'm gonna go with Mr. Anthony Jones. He is currently a DC-based chef, so I'm gonna take a chance on my guy in DC here. He's the chef de cuisine at Marcus DC, right across town from us. I'm gonna take a bet on him. That's my guy. I'm going with him.
Nice, nice. For my next pick, I'm picking Lawrence Louie out of Quincy, Massachusetts. Again, another chopped champion. And from what I've read online, he's actually been training for Top Chef by running time simulations in his own kitchen. So,
Ooh.
I interviewed or I had Savannah Miller on my podcast last year, and
Mhm.
she told me about the practices she used to do
Mhm.
with her fiance and practicing shopping and practicing cooking under a time constraint
Oh
at her
man,
house. So I think that practice is going to come in well. And again,
gym
the chop
time.
champion. What's that?
Gym time,
Yeah,
100%. And it's a great strategy to have. If you know yourself and you know what you got to do to be battle ready. Me personally, I just read a lot. I was like, you know what? If I'm not, if I can't do it, I can't do it. And if I can, I can, but nothing shakes the nerves like actually being on Top Chef set, Tom, Gail, Kristen sitting right in front of you, and you gotta
right.
go. And they say the clock starts now, and you literally start sprinting with one singular idea in your head of what dish you're gonna make. But that's a great strategy to take is practice, practice, practice before. But we'll see.
It's like what Tyson said. Everybody's got a plan until you get punched in the mouth, right?
Until you get
So
punched in the mouth, and that's what I'm saying, man. Top Chef is no joke. Once the nerves shake off and you gotta cook, man, it shows you who you are as a chef for sure, really quick.
them studio lights come on, and it's like a deer in the headlights.
Oh yeah.
Who's your next pick, sir?
For my next pick, oof, this is gonna we're losing some top picks here. I am going to go with. Sorry, I'm looking at the list to see who's next. I'm gonna take a chance. Let's go with Doyen Ha.
Okay.
She's based out of Los Angeles. She has a Vietnamese American background. I think this is gonna be a sleeper pick. I think she doesn't have like the Southern background. She's from New York. She lives in LA, but I think people that cook cultural cuisine also have a chip on their shoulder. They also have the ability to pivot past French techniques, past what we're classically trained to do, because you have a little bit more depth in your bag there. You've got a cultural background behind you that stems and gives you inspiration from your childhood. And so if she's bringing a lot of these things to the table, she may be able to put her own little spin on some of these Southern classics that we're going to see and kind of make some dishes. I think Tatiana did an amazing job of that last season. She was always like cooking to win, and you saw like she had a theme to how she cooked. There was always a radish on the plate. There was always this. She was really creative using punches, dyeing things. And so I think pulling from her cultural background will be a good thing for her.
Yeah, excellent. So for my next pick, I'm picking another local chef, Brittany Cochran, out of Charlotte, North Carolina.
Okay.
Another, home court favorite because, again, the Carolinas is just so unique with its Southern food, and I think the folks that are from Carolina are going to have that advantage. So she is out of Charlotte. She has training, so she has a fine dining thing that Tom Clicky always looks for. So Britt Cochran, hoping for good things for my number 4 pick.
Got you.
What's up for you? Next pick for you.
Number 5, I'm gonna go with Miss Day Joseph. She is from Florida. She is currently living in Atlanta. I cooked with her on a couple of private events in New York City. We both share the same haircut. I've got a ride for my girl, man. I've got a ride for her. I think her being, having Southern roots, that goes back to one of your picks earlier. Like, it gives you an edge. It gives you just a little bit of comfortability when it comes to Southern cuisine. And yeah, I think she's ready for the occasion. If you can walk through any gauntlet in New York City, I think you're a little bit ready for life in any way, shape, or form.
Yep. Good pick. So for my next pick, I'm going with Rhoda Magbigtong. I think I pronounced that right.
My next pick.
Yep. I got to represent for the Filipinos on the show. So she is a Filipino chef out of Hawaii. It could be an interesting mix, with her Filipino experience in cooking with the Southern food.
Okay.
So she's worked for Jose Andres, worked for Suzanne Goin, and her little bit in the preview where she's like, "This isn't Burning Man. I'm not here to find myself. I'm here to just I'm here to cook food and beat people." This was basically essentially what she said.
Yep.
I'm gonna kick butt and take names. So that little snippet for me was like, oh, she's coming to play. Like she's not here to make friends. I mean, obviously you make friends, but she's not, she's very mission minded. She's here to win Top Chef. So I'm really interested to see what she's going to do. And I love seeing Filipino food highlighted on shows like Top Chef. So I'm very interested to see what she's going to pull out of her bag.
Okay.
Next pick.
I'm going to go with Miss Sherry Cardozo.
Okay.
She is based out of Brazil, but she lives in Brooklyn. Shout out to Brooklyn, New York. Lived there the entire time I was in New York City. And also, her background, she comes from the per se, she comes from the chef's table background. That is not to be taken lightly. I think that level of experience at that 3 Michelin star level, even though you're in a cooking competition, it carries a lot of weight. A lot of the portions that you're going to be cooking, believe it or not, are not big portions. They're very dainty. If you're smart, you will keep your dishes as dainty as possible. And if you got it, you got it. And if you don't, you definitely don't. And she, has 2 very, very heavy hitters on her background. She's also from Brazil. So I would love to see if she's able to have a separation of degree between her cultural roots, her fine dining background, her living in New York City, and kind of make that all clash in the Carolinas.
Nice. So for my next pick, I'm picking one of the twins, Jonathan Dearden. So he is out of Alexandria, Virginia, and he has experience in high-end Caribbean and Latin flavors. So something you're familiar with, and Caribbean, and especially last season with both you and Tristan, really made an impression on the judges. And I think that's going to be in the back of their mind a little bit as they come into this season. So for my next pick, Jonathan Dearden, one half of the Dearden twins. So it'd be interesting to see what happens when those two get on the same team.
Yeah, 100%.
What's your next pick?
I'm gonna go with his brother. I'm gonna go with Mr. Brandon. I think we're slim pickings left here, but I think I'm going to take a chance on one of the twins. One of them is going to do better than the other. We know that. So it's a 50
Yep.
50 dice roll here. He currently, is the chef and executive owner of Ember and Grano. He has an Italian background. He's got his highlights. He's got his strengths. I think, being in it when you're right before you go on Top Chef, if you're cooking while you're getting ready to go on, I think like it goes back to the point of gym time. And if you have your own restaurant group and you're actually in your kitchen, I think that's got to pull some weight here.
Yep. Good. Good. All right. So we're down to two. We got Jennifer Lee Jackson and Justin Tutla left on the board.
Mhm.
So I think for my pick, I'm going to go with Jennifer Lee Jackson. So she's
Okay.
one half of the married couple that's on the show.
Yep.
So I'm going to go with Jennifer Lee. She seems pretty talented. She does whimsical food from what I was reading, and hopefully she stays focused, doesn't let. I kind of hope she goes into this. I know you're coming in with a married partner in with her. I think her husband's Justin in this, and who's left. I'm hoping that doesn't distract them, like we were talking about earlier. Like if they can focus on the individual game, I think those two can do really really well. So that leaves you with Justin Tutla. So I think that is Jennifer's
my world.
husband.
Yes.
So our teams are set.
Mhm.
One thing that is a different change to the format this year, Last Chance Kitchen, I was reading in Reddit that Last Chance Kitchen, if you're the first and second chef eliminated, there is no Last Chance Kitchen for you. There's no Last Chance Kitchen for the first two that are eliminated.
Oh man, that's
What
a
do you
shocker.
think of that, hearing this for the first time?
I think Last Chance Kitchen is the force of the show that is not to be reckoned with. And the fact that they're changing it, why? That's not good. Like, if you're the first person eliminated, obviously it's going to be somebody, but nobody wants to be that person at all. So I think if you go out first and you're able to quickly reboot and say, hey, look, I know exactly why I messed up. I know why I got eliminated. Somebody's going to mess up royally in the first challenge. We've seen it happen
Oh yeah.
time and time again. I think Last Chance Kitchen is that chip on your shoulder to kind of go in there and reboot and cook. As we saw from my season, Mimi basically went in the Last Chance Kitchen and took everybody down until Bailey kind of came in, and Bailey was like also second out, chip on his shoulder, ready to cook. And Bailey, I think it made Bailey see who she was. She was trying to do things in the competition that weren't her. It wasn't the food she wanted to cook. And the second she rallied back and like cooked through Last Chance Kitchen, she very quickly found herself like cooking the food she wanted to cook for the rest of the season. And then it landed her in Italy cooking Italian food. It was like that underdog story that you wanted to kind of see win. Like, all right, Bailey, like I see you. This is you. You got it. But Last Chance Kitchen gave her that fire, and imagine if we wouldn't have had that last year. We wouldn't have had that redemption story from her, or to see Mimi kind of like rally back from that first episode that was tough on her. I don't like it. I don't like the changes, but things got to evolve.
Yeah, things have to evolve. Yeah, I'm not for sure how I feel about that too, because I do love the Last Chance Kitchen format.
Mhm.
It is very different from the main show, and a lot of people do end up finding themselves in Last Chance Kitchen.
I did not. I very quickly found out, like, oh man, like it's a completely way of Tom judging, and you're just cooking for Tom, which in my interviews in the beginning, somebody asked me like, which chef is going to be the hardest, and I was like, obviously, I think Kristen has a little bit of grace because she's done it before. She won. She came back out of Last Chance Kitchen. So like this is a theme that we're seeing here. If you
Yeah.
get that Last Chance Kitchen chip on your shoulder, you're going to rally back. I went into Last Chance Kitchen. We had like a week off. We were waiting for more contestants to come out, and it was just me and Kat basically hanging out. And then Henry came in, Paola came in, Katiana came in, and we kind of saw like the dynamic of the back end of that. And I made one mistake. I bought extra ingredients to my table and said, "Hey, look, this is what I'm gonna do. If it goes in this direction, I'm gonna use this. If it goes in that direction, I'm gonna use this." And I looked down and noticed I didn't open any of those cans. I had tomato paste, I had green curry, but Tom threw a very difficult like cooking challenge at us. We had, what was it, 10 minutes to prep a dish that we couldn't use any live fire cooking for in the beginning. We could only use sharp objects in the first 10 minutes. So if I wanted to blend a sauce to finish it on the back end, I couldn't use a Vitamix, I couldn't use a RoboCoupe, I couldn't use a microplant, I couldn't use anything that had a knife for the last 20 minutes. And so strategically, you're in the moment, you get your mentality, you get your dish, and I just didn't open any cans because I was too busy like doing other things, and that 10 minutes went by like that. So I kind of shot myself in the foot. I still think I created a more creative dish, but more creative isn't always what's safest. And we saw Katiana, Kat, come in and immediately like do something really safe. She was like, I zested my lime straight out the bat. I just chopped all my vegetables. I blended my vinaigrette, and I was done with like the stuff. And she's like, and I saw your dish, and she, her words were, "Oh F," she was like, he actually like put a composed dish up, but I made a mistake because I said I was going to do this and then didn't open an ingredient for that. And that's ultimately what shot me in the foot.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, Last Chance Kitchen is such a awesome format. And the last 2 seasons, they had these mystery chefs
Mhm,
come in through Last Chance Kitchen or try to work their way through. Suan was the only one that was able to do it.
mhm,
Last year, the 2 that they had in there didn't make it through.
mhm.
One ended up quitting halfway
Yeah.
through, and then one just didn't make it after losing. But I don't know if we're going to see that. If the first 2 are going to be out, I don't know if we're going to see that this year. I haven't heard or read anything
Mhm.
with Suan. I think that was kind of a fluke because he in interviewing him, I had him on my podcast a couple of years ago. In interviewing him, and I asked him about his experience of did you know you were going to be in going through Top Chef through Last Chance Kitchen? He's like, yeah, I didn't have much notice. Apparently, I was an alternate. They told me I was
Yeah.
an alternate, and I was
Yeah.
like, yeah, chef. That was when David Murphy just like disappeared after that first episode. He was
Mhm.
gone, and then nobody mentioned his name again, as if he didn't exist.
Yeah.
And he was like, "Yeah, I was an alternate," and so I think that was kind of a fluke. And they said, "Well, that worked out really well for him. Let's try it again." It didn't quite work out. So I don't know if we're going to see that this season, especially with the first 2 chefs being eliminated, not being able to participate in Last Chance Kitchen, and that's a shame because I do like watching that underdog story as they grow and evolve through Last Chance Kitchen. But we'll see how the format plays out. Who knows?
I think it
Um,
puts a
uh,
little bit more pressure on like the to not get knocked out in the first 2. That's the toughest place to be in.
yeah, yeah, for sure. I do want to talk, kind of wrapping things up, talking about the legacy of Top Chef. This is 23 seasons of this show, and there's been a lot of um, kitchen competition shows that have come and gone. Some have stayed longer than others, but Top Chef has really had this legacy, and being what it is today. It doesn't change much. Its format is relatively the same through every season. What do you credit what do you credit the legacy of Top Chef and it being on this long when other shows that have tried to copy it have gone by the wayside?
Yeah, I think Top Chef has just done a great job of sticking to themselves. It's evolved over time, like all things naturally, but it pivoted itself as being one of the premier cooking shows, right there with Master Chef, Iron Chef, like all of these top tier shows. It pivoted itself in that. Even Chop has its weight, but then they're all different for their own reasons. But for me specifically, Top Chef is a small club. You'll see multiple seasons of Chop come out per year. Top Chef, you gotta wait for it once a year, man. So 23 years, 23 seasons. There's a right around 100 and something chefs. There's not that many. And the fact that they've also pivoted into the local, a lot of places, Top Chef Canada, Top Chef Tokyo, like, a lot of these small cities also have been able to, or not small cities, but local markets have been able to put on through the Top Chef platform and give kind of people their moment of shine. Like it's just cool, man. And Tom has been there through the OGs. I love the fact that multiple contestants have come back. Kristen is now a host after winning season 10. Chef Kwame Nwachi was a host with Padma, and it's just they've just done a great thing with picking people and highlighting people for their moment, man, and giving people a shine. And Tom Clicky is an OG. He's been around. He still owns restaurants. He's still in New York City, even in his 60s. He's still doing it, man. And he makes the time to travel for food and wine. He makes the time to do all these things to like keep the Top Chef brand going. And I think that ultimately is why Bravo, NBC, they figured out what they want to do. They made their adjustments over time and what they wanted to see, because before it was a little bit more drama based.
Yeah.
The chefs were a little bit more at each other's necks, and it wasn't as family focused. But um, I think they very quickly identified like who's watching Top Chef. On my season specifically, I was shook that so many of my friends' kids were watching me cook and being like, I want to be like that guy, or I want to wear the Jamaican bandana on my head, like, in some of the competitions. But, you never know who you're going to inspire. And I think Top Chef just gives you the platform to like, if you go on and represent yourself well, they're going to make you look like an amazing person. You know, they're going to make you look like an amazing chef. They're going to highlight your food as best as possible. They're going to tell your story. And I think that that is just like one of the most special things as a chef, and getting to go on a competition like this, and having, if you can go and cook for duration there, you can get it, you know, you can get it, and they're going to help you do it.
Yeah, a lot of chefs that I've talked to that come out of the Top Chef gauntlet always say that they're a different chef coming out than they were coming in. And can you say the same? Like, are there things that Top Chef taught you during your time there that you are still using to this day, running two restaurants?
I think more specifically, I was mostly grateful for the connections of like the people I came in contact with. Like me and Tristan text each other like every other week. Me and Vinny will hop on a call once a month. Like the group chat is always popping with like stories about each other's restaurants, or like, yo, my kitchen flooded tonight. I hate this. Like, what is, you know, we just trauma bonded so hard on our season that I think that we carry that into like, you know, our thing. And now, you know, watching our season, like everybody's doing pop-ups now. Like Paula's hosting everybody. Paula, invite me. I want to come to Kentucky and see you. Um, I want to go cook with all these guys. I'm just so busy this year. Like it's weird that I went from doing pop-ups to not doing any pop-ups. And I was so ready to like go cook with Henry and Houston, and Chef Evelyn. Like that's his business partner from previous season. Like it's just this, it's a bridge. Like Top Chef is amazing. Like I wear the hat all the time. I wear it out in public. Nobody says anything. Nobody sees it for the most part. But yeah, it's just special, man. I love the Top Chef platform. I'm super excited for the season as well.
Yeah, awesome, awesome. Well, Chef, I want to wrap things up here. Give you a few minutes just to, or a few moments here just to promote whatever we got going on. Where can people find you on socials, and where can people go experience your restaurants?
Yeah, so you can follow me at Chef Corwin Hemming on Instagram. Please follow for my life. I typically will post like me prepping or doing projects in the kitchen. I need to get better with that though. I'm just so busy just because the restaurant's growing so much. But you can find me at Isla Restaurant DC. We also have a cocktail lounge called Good Love. They're a branded concept under the same house, but have their own different feels. But you know, if you want to come in and enjoy this new wave of island cuisine that is taking not only like DC by storm, New York City. We're seeing all these diasporic restaurants pop up. If you want to enjoy our version of that, please come into Isla. I love the host. We do PPX treatment all the time. So, you know, come find us there. That's where we're at.
Awesome, awesome. Well, Chef, thank you so much for your time. I'm looking forward to spending the next couple of months with you talking about Top Chef. I love Top Chef. I love this show, and this whole podcast of mine. Top Chef is the reason why I wanted to do it. So I'm looking forward to talking to you and breaking these episodes down, talking about the dishes and getting to it. So looking forward to next week. The season premiere of Top Chef is on Monday, March the 9th. At 9 p.m. on Bravo. So make sure you tune in there, streaming the next day on Peacock. And then we are going to be recording as quickly as we can after those episodes and have them up that week. And so make sure you follow me on socials at Rich Rare at Eat Your Content to know when those episodes are going to drop. Follow on your favorite podcast player of choice so that you know when these episodes are going to be uploaded. So Chef Corwin, thank you so much for your time, and we'll see you next week.
Yes, we'll see you next week.